I can see that we've had a lot of new people join us for the next half hour as well. And I'm really excited to welcome back Frances Watson, who was a fantastic presenter in the slot before me. She was a tough act to follow. So ask her to unmute her camera, show her camera. There she is. Hello.
Hi, Katie.
Oh, welcome. I can't believe it's been an hour since we were last speaking.
Where does it go? Yeah, mostly I've been glued to watching you and I'm like, I should reassemble the things that I need now. So, yes.
Well, it's been absolutely brilliant, as you can tell. I'm absolutely going to try that dice trick. Everyone I know is going to see that over the next the next little while.
Totally. Well, and I particularly love Colin saying, this is the opposite of an icebreaker. This is an ice former. So quite nicely, my trick follows on from that.
Oh, brilliant. Is it going to form more ice or break some of the ice that we've already formed?
Well, I like to think of it as a mathematical lie detector test. So it depends whether you like the person that you're trying to form ice between. If you've decided that you might want to show it to them in the spirit of comedy and mathematical magic, if you don't like them, you might say, I'm going to tell you I can tell when you're lying, and see how that forms another iceberg before you leave the party.
Perhaps a really good one to use on the Colin that we're not allowed to trust. So this might be a really
There we go. Absolutely. This is very true. Unfortunately, I'm going to ask you to be my volunteer for this, but yeah. So you can. People won't know whether people who are watching will know whether you're lying or not, but I won't until we get to the end of the trick.
Oh, I'll have to practice my impassive face. Absolutely.
The poker face. Good stuff.
So what have been some of your favourite parts of the show so far? Because you watched some last night as well, didn't you? So for people that are just joining us,
I did watch some last night.
What's some of your highlights?
So I think, I know it wasn't mathematical, it was very magical, but Katie's top hat at the outset. I wonder how many, I saw comments in the chat earlier on about how many other people, myself included, went, right, I need a hat. I didn't realize hats were going to be props, but that's a superb, kind of starting what's it. So that was amazing. What else did I like? Oh, a particular highlight this morning was, I think it was Chris Smith from Scotland singing the reworded 500 miles. That I thought I was envious of the t-shirt, but then he did that and I was like, oh, good Lord, this is just a whole nother level of, musical and magical extravaganza. So that, and lots of the things that happened last night. I think one of the things I have loved is the ebb and flow of things I recognize, but I'm seeing in a slightly different form, or things I don't recognize at all. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute. I have to concentrate in order to not be in over my head, or things that I'm making notes on and going, right, I'm not going to try and follow along. I'm going to go back and have another look at it later. So there's been a real variety of things, whether it's, students who are studying mathematics, which wasn't ever me, so I will automatically feel a bit, I'm from a different vantage point here, or whether it's, people who are working like you and I in maths engagement, kind of work, or something totally different, some of the really big names who are known in maths education, and therefore, people have done things with props that so Lawrence O'Toole, in my section, his Venn diagram with the cutout that fitted round it, and I had to, all of my constraint not to go, ooh, just, okay, I'd keep the conversation moving, but I'm just like, could we just admire how lovely that is? That and the optical illusions last night. Similarly, I can't have been the only one making noises of extreme pleasure as mathematical magicry went on screen.
I think my list of books that I want to get to read and props that I want to get and find a way to use is just growing and growing as the hours go by.
Definitely me too. And I've lost that. I put them to one side because I know I didn't need them. So, the fact there's another edition of Chalk Dust out, and I'd never heard of the Relatively Prime podcast. So that's another one on my list. I almost want it to be half term again so that, I've got time to do some of the catch up. I'm just going to have to fit around other things, I think.
Yeah, Joe Morgan as well had a beautiful book this morning that just had a really beautiful cover that I got distracted by while he was speaking about it as well. So
completely, yeah. So it may well be fantastic content, but it looked gorgeous as well.
Yes, well, you know that it's going to be fantastic content from her as well. Well, that's just some of the highlights of things that have gone on. So if you're just joining now, you'll be able to watch back as to some of the slots you missed, and I would highly recommend it, and suspect it will end with a lot of people spending money on books and props by the end of the 24 hours. So you're now joining us for a bit of trick and treatery, following your presenting slot. So what have we got lined up? And do you want to tell us a bit about what you do? Sort of launched into it, but what do you do normally when you're not chatting to me?
Thank you kindly. Yeah, so I am a maths educator and a maths communicator. So I go into schools, not so much at the moment, although actually I'm booked into a school on Monday, which I've been watching with trepidation as to whether I'm going to get to or not, and keeping in close contact with my B&B lady on Sunday night. Right, absolutely. There, I'm accruing resources in a happy way that I haven't for ages, and thinking, I'm going to get to drive, further than maybe the local supermarket. So yeah, I go into schools and run training for teachers. I run workshops for students. I give speeches and keynote conference sessions at conferences, sometimes virtually. So ones I've attended in other parts of the world are now going online. So it's about bringing that and trying to adapt what we do, I guess, in a similar way to, Mark Watson talking about taking comedy online. Being a maths presenter being any performer is about getting the feedback and that trade-off of, being in the room. There's nothing like it. And so trying to find ways around that. I mean, one advantage is the not traveling, so that, I can be in multiple places. If people are saying, you do this at 10 and somebody else has said, could you do this at 12? That's physically possible now because I'm not having to move between the two. But there are all sorts of other things that I'm having to plan differently, and therefore trying to think about, what might be possible. Some of the things that have happened in lockdown, a colleague and I, Alison Kiddle, you will know, ran webinars for Maths Week Scotland, and we have another one that we're going to do in Maths Week England the week after next. So there's I might flag it up at the end, but we're doing something called Mathematics Through Paper Folding, and it's an Eventbrite. You can buy tickets for it on Eventbrite. We're offering it to the audience of maths teachers who want to get more paper folding into their mathematics lessons as a means of hooking people and getting that awe and wonder that we've been seeing so much of in this show, combined with interested pupils of either primary or secondary age who are interested in making some intriguing mathematical geometrical origami. So if that sounds like it floats, either of your boat, those of you who are watching, we would be delighted to see you. We've written new content for the Maths Week England webinar in case anybody from Maths Week Scotland webinars, because we did 2 of them, who wanted to come and take part. We thought, wow, it's not like it's hard to find material. And in actual fact, Alison and I have been making long lists of things we want, and I now have to go through and cull as to what we've got time for. So we'll see.
Oh, fantastic. So if people already saw it in Maths Week Scotland, which was brilliant, they can come and catch it for Maths Week England as well, in which case I'm definitely going to be signing up and joining you for that.
Thank you kindly.
Okay, well, I'm aware of the time, so let's get started. I'll practice my impassive lying face.
I was going to say, put it that you're a star. Okay, so let me just, what I want to do is to change over what we're looking at here, and I've learned fantastic new technical commands from the wizardry of the people who are lending their time behind the scenes here, who I was like, do you know how to do it? And they were like, well, try this, and it seems to work, which is wonderful. So let me just switch my camera. I think you're going to be able to still see a small thumbnail of me, but what you should now see is my hands underneath my visualizer. Is that what you can see?
Yep, we can see your hands, and we can see a little you.
Superb. Okay, all right, much the best way round in actual fact. So I have a pack of cards here, and I said I was going to create a mathematical lie detector. So what it is it's a find your card trick, but I'm going to find your card whether you lie to me or not, Katie. And I won't know whether you're lying unless you give it away by what's on your face. So if you wanted to turn away, or, put a, what was it Lawrence used earlier? Oh, a baking tray in front of his head. I'm not saying you have to hide your face.
Got a very large dice.
Super. That is an enormous great dice. Wow. Okay, that's superbly impassive. Okay, well, if you could just do that, that would be better than the trick alone. I'm hoping you can see that I've been shuffling these cards underneath. Nothing like Kevin's beautiful shuffles earlier, I'm afraid. This is very much the amateur end of the scale. But these are completely randomized. They're not in any particular order. And the nice thing about the lie detector test is because it's the mathematics that makes it work. So it might be that we do it a couple of times in order to let people see how it works. And there are kind of 3 levels to this trick. There's watching and there's There's watching along and being surprised or not. There's watching along and being able to recreate it for yourself. So if you've got a pack of cards at home, you might like to have them to hand because there's going to be an opportunity for you to join in and try it for yourself. And then the third level is understanding why it works. So it's perfectly possible to do the trick and wow people on the magical level, and then take some more time to think about the mathematics if you want to. So I've got randomized cards. If you haven't got cards at home, you could just use Post-it notes. You'll see I'm only going to use a small number of them. So I'm just going to deal some cards out here into 3 piles for you, Katie.
I'll just say, Fran, we can see the cards. It's just a little bit jumpy, so just make sure that you do it a bit slowly so that it catches up.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Okay, all right. So I shall slow that bit down. That's useful to know. So I've done 3 piles of 3 cards, and then I'm going to put the rest of the cards away because we don't need those. Okay. And I'm going to, ordinarily, if Katie was here, I would say pick a pile. But because we can't do that, I'm going to ask her to pick either purple for these nails or silver for these nails or the middle pile, and she's going to tell me which pile she picks, and then I'm going to put my hat over my face while I turn over the pile so that you can see the card on the bottom and I can't. So would you like the purple pile, the silver pile, or the middle pile, Katie?
I would like the silver pile. I'm most jealous of the silver nails, so
brilliant stuff. Okay, so those of you who are seeing that this is my only chance that my hat is going to get worn, but I'm just going to put it over my face so I can't see what my hands are doing. I'm going to turn this over so that you can see and Katie, so that you can see and Katie can see. I suddenly realized I was muffling myself. And remember this card, and in a minute I'm going to ask Katie to tell me what that card was, but she's going to be allowed to lie about it if she wants to. So I'm going to turn that back over and take the hat away. So Katie and the rest of the audience, you now know what's on the bottom of this pile. Now, I don't want to know whether Katie is lying or not, but in a minute, she's going to tell me a card, and that might be the Queen of Hearts, or it might be the 2 of Clubs, or it might be the 7 of Diamonds, or any of those sorts of things. And then I'm going to find her card, so I will know whether she was telling the truth or not. And we'll do one of each if you like, Katie. So I won't know whether you're truth telling or not, but then we'll try it the other way around in a minute, just to show that it always works. Okay. So Katie, could you tell me what your card was, please?
My card was the 4 of Hearts.
The 4 of Hearts. So because Katie's told me it was the 4 of Hearts, I'm going to use that. I'm going to spell the word 4, F-O-U-R, of, O-F. She said hearts, H-E-A-R-T-S. And I said this was a maths trick as well as being a magic trick. So I'm going to spell the word maths.
So just to check, Fran, you put all of those on the same pile? Just so that we
I did. I put them all together.
Great.
And when we do this in a minute, I might ask in the chat what people are noticing in order to be able to recreate the trick for themselves. But you're quite right. They all went into one pile. Grand. So this is the last bit. This is maths. So M-A-T-H-S. I don't think your card was the 4 of Hearts, Katie. I think you fibbed, and I think your card was the 3 of Diamonds. Am I right?
I was indeed a sneaky fibber, and it wasn't the 4 of Hearts. It was the 3 of Diamonds.
Superb. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this back over, bring in back the other cards, because it doesn't really matter which cards I used. I'm going to put those on the bottom of the pile and take new ones from the top. And this time, let's try it where you tell me the truth, which I understand might feel like a bit of a spoiler, but I want people to appreciate that you don't have to lie in order for this to work. So I'm going to deal 3 piles of 3 cards each. So I'm using 9 cards altogether, and then I put these away, and then I'm going to do the same again. So Katie's going to pick a pile, either purple or silver or the one in the middle, doesn't matter which.
I'm going to go for the middle this time.
Okay.
So again, just to summarize to people, just because it's catching up a little bit, you put 3 cards on 3 different piles, haven't we?
Yep, absolutely. So 3 piles of 3, and then the volunteer, so Katie in this case, is going to pick a pile. She's picked the middle one. Now, if we're doing this thing, I'm not going to look, but We think she might tell us the truth this time, but she might be sneaky and lie again. She's got that option. So I'm not going to look, and I'm going to turn this over so you can see what the bottom card is.
Okay.
There we go. So remember that.
Yep.
And I'm going to turn it back over. Okay, hat away. And then you might notice last time that in putting them all in a pile, I did something particular about the order. I'm not going to say any more about that, but people might like to think about that when they try this for themselves. And then Katie's going to tell me what her card was. Now, she could tell me the truth, but she could lie. And I don't even know if the card she's going to tell me will be in this pile, because it could be here in this deck. I won't know until we get to the end of the trick. So, Katie, could you tell me what your card was?
My card was the 6 of hearts.
The 6 of hearts. Okay, so I'm going to spell the card that Katie told me, just like I did last time. So S-I-X-O-F, and then the suit was hearts. So H-E-A-R-T-S. And we said this was a maths trick as well as being a magic trick. So I'm going to spell the word maths. M-A-T-H-S. I believe you, Katie. You told me the truth this time. I think your card was the 6 of hearts.
My card was indeed the 6 of hearts. Absolutely. I was telling the truth this time.
Beautiful stuff. Okay, so if you've got a pack of cards at home, you might like to have a try of this. We said there were 3 levels. I'm just going to come back and stop screen sharing. There we go. And take this. Okay, so you might want to try it for yourself. As Katie said, there were 3 piles of 3. And then you might have noticed what I did with the pile that Katie chose each time. So one time the pile was on the outside, one time the pile was on the middle. But what you do, the order of those cards matters. But then try it at home. Try and get somebody to just tell you a random card after they've looked at what it is, so that they'll know when they get to the end of the trick whether it was successful or not. And try spelling it out and see if you can recreate the trick for yourself. My plan is not to give away the maths behind this. My plan is to leave you with an intriguing and curiosity-inducing Halloween thing to think about. There's been lots of talk, I know, about the challenge between, as being a teacher, wanting to share with you things that in order to help you understand them. But at this point, because it's not a classroom activity necessarily, I'm going to leave you with the curiosity that I hope will pique you enough to make you go and want to find out more about it. And do put in the chat if you've got ideas about, but not spoilers about how it's done, just that, oh, you think such and such might be important, might be something that somebody else, if they're looking for hints, could then access without having it spoiled that, you know, now they know what to do because somebody's given the game away. But yes, that's my lie detector test. That's my trick for you.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. Does this trick have a name if someone wanted to go and look it up?
It's a good question. I don't know that it does, but when I worked for Enrich, we called it Truth or Lies. So if you Google Enrich, N-R-I-C-H, Truth or Lies, it's there's a video of it on the Enrich website. You can access it there, and there are some teacher resources about how you might like to use it, and you know, we're open to exploration. So fantastic. There's definitely that if you can't remember how to do it. Yeah.
If people want to re-watch it and slow it down and see what's happening, then they can head to there and see what's happening with all the cards and try and figure it out for themselves as well before amazing friends and families with their lie detector. Do you have a little treat for us as well, or are you
I do have a little treat. Well, I didn't know. I like the tricky bit. So there were 2 bits, and I don't know if we've time for both. So the first one's very quick though. I was saying earlier that Alison and I are running this paper folding webinar as part of Maths Week England. We both love paper folding, but particularly, I shouldn't speak for Alison, but particularly for myself, mathematical paper folding, so geometrical paper folding. And I already knew about a building block in origami. Modular origami is where you make a lot of the same thing and then you put them all together to make a model. And I knew about the building block that are parallelogram modules. So you make a piece of paper folded into the shape of a parallelogram in a particular way, sometimes called limping seagulls. And then you put them together. And I had come across examples of making cubes and of making stellated octahedra and other things. But I hadn't come across, until I saw a YouTube video, this. And this is made, just tucked together, of limping seagull modules. And the bit that makes me go, ooh, is this.
Wow.
Because it's not held together with any sellotape or any glue. It's held together by tucking pieces into other pieces, but then the whole thing will twist and actually can be folded down into a cuboid if I do it like that, and then spring back to its original shape. And I saw this and went, oh, I want one of those. How does that work? And actually, there was a video
exactly
about
what's going through my mind.
Right. Only I decided that because once I'd found out that it was made from these parallelogram modules, I kind of, the mathematician in me went, oh, I don't want you to show me. I'm going to see if I can figure it out. So I went away and spent a large amount of time, but very happily engaged in, right, does this bit go here? And then occasionally I would look back at the video for a bit of a peek and go, am I along the right? I think I am along the right lines. I don't want to see the answer yet. And then made it in that way. So it was it made me go, ooh, but it actually then led to doing some more mathematics in a variety of other ways. So that was my treat.
Beautiful. Could you just show us one more time it folding into a cuboid?
Of course. So each of these are individual cubes, and if I tilt them, you can see they almost look animated, but actually if I send it all the way here and I need to push it a bit in the corners, it will go down into making a cuboid before it then springs back out into this shape.
That's so beautiful. And what I'm really enjoying is the YouTube's about a little bit behind us, so I can see in the chat the moment that you have revealed that, with people going, whoa. So that's absolutely brilliant. What was that called again, if anyone that was distracted?
Yeah, do you know what so the modules that make it are called parallelogram modules, or some people call them limping seagull modules. And if you Google, if you look on YouTube or Google for limping seagull module creations, or modular origami is another good thing to search for. Lots of these are in existence. This wasn't the only one. It's a real rabbit hole to fall down. And yeah, just, taking the time to then follow up on the ooh is really quite delightful sometimes.
That looks absolutely brilliant, and I already know that as a rabbit hole that I'm going to get well into later on this weekend. Well, thank you so much, Fran, for coming back and sharing with us your maths trick and treat as well. It was fantastic to see you again, and good luck with your Maths Week England paper origami. I know it will be fantastic. Thank you very much. Having seen your one for Maths Week Scotland.
Bless you. Thank you very much indeed. It's been great. So enjoy the rest of the however many hours we're down to now. Is it approaching just over 6, I think?
Yeah, just over 6 hours. So I think heading into the last bit.
Exciting. Superb. All right. Thank you very much indeed, Katie.
Thank you.